Hey, welcome to the Table Talk Podcast. It is Kaleb. I'm here with David on a very, very cold Tuesday morning. David, are you staying warm?
I am. Reminds me of growing up in Ohio.
Yeah. Oh,
so
Ohio.
But it's just a different type of cold. It's a cold that goes down into your bones as soon as you walk outside, and we don't typically get that. Even when it gets down to this cold here, it still feels different somehow. Mm-hmm. This one feels like Ohio.
This is pretty cold.
This is cold, and so it's like reliving my childhood. What I am disappointed in is that we don't have, because if it's going to be cold, might as well have snow to go along with it.
That's my argument all the time. If it's going to be cold, it needs to snow.
Yeah. So there's chance of it coming at the end of the week again too. So, but if it would have been cold enough, we would have got hit. Hard. And so because that was a lot of rain and you put that into snow, we would have been, Knoxville would have been buried for a month.
It was a weird weekend, all the hype, and then I know it turned into a lot of ice for people more so than snow, and we got a little bit of that here, but definitely look at places like Nashville, Louisville, got hit pretty hard. So winter weather is kind of nuts. Yeah,
it is, and you never know what it's going to do. We had services at home this week, partially because of that. It's like you just don't know.
Don't know, right?
We were 1 degree, 2 degrees away from having tons of snow or having tons of ice, and with it being so complicated, with it's just better safe than people getting out and getting into ice and stuff like that. And it's good. It's good to be able to worship with family or to worship at home, to be able to spend time with God in that way. And I thought you did a really good job with the service. Thanks. Something different. You know, every service here when we're here is worship. Not every service, but almost every service is worship and a sermon and a little bit more worship and communion. It was nice to have something, to me, that was a little bit contemplative. Like I can look and ask those questions and look at myself and say, okay, what is God telling me today? Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the hope. You know, if we're going to be at home, might as well kind of take advantage of that and spend a little bit of time in thought and prayer. And I feel like it is good just to mix it up every now and then and go, hey, you know, this is obviously our day looks different, our schedule looks different, even our teaching calendar looked different. We pushed the sermon back a week that was going to happen this past Sunday. So how do we make the most of this situation? And I personally believe that like we learn best in dialogue. Sermons are mostly monologue, and I think people can learn in monologue, and I've certainly learned through monologue, just one person talking to you. But I really think that dialogue, people talking together, is where we learn best. And obviously, you know, that video wasn't a dialogue between me and you, but I hope that it created a dialogue between you and God. And so that was kind of the point there. And I hope it was helpful for people, and it was definitely helpful for me as I kind of thought through some of those questions and wrestled through it myself. And I'm glad that, hated that we didn't get to start the series on Sunday, but I'm also glad that God kind of gave us a chance to do that reflective time.
I think it's good that we were able to push that sermon back to, I think this sermon that we're going to be doing, or that you're going to be doing with Heather, is going to make a bigger impact in person. And I think that that's going to be really important. We definitely want people to join in for that. We started this series on relationships on Sunday. Like I said, something a little different. But we're talking about how our lives are based on relationships. God created us to be in relationships, and I know you're going to be covering that on Sunday. Can you tell us a little bit about this series and what the goal for it is, and maybe a little preview of it?
The series is called It's Complicated, Loving Well in Real Life, and so we want to just take the time to really look at, hey, what are relationships, why do they matter, and how do we make them work? And specifically, how do we make them work in a Christ-like way? How do we make our relationships look like Jesus? So this Sunday, we're kicking off and talking about the idea that we're created for connection. We're made in the image of God. Genesis is very clear about that. And what that means is not just that we reflect some type of physical attribute of God, but that in some way we bear like God's creative spark. We bear his characteristics, his traits. Like there are reflections of God within us. One of those is our need for community and for connection and relationship. God has existed eternally, forever, in context of the Trinity, the relationship that God has with God's self. God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit have existed together in relationship forever as one God, three persons. That's confusing for us, but C.S. Lewis calls it a dance, that the Trinity is in lockstep with each other. There's this perfect dance that's going on between the Father, Son, and the Spirit. This relational aspect of who God is, we're created from the overflow of that. The love that exists between Father, Son, and Spirit, we're created, Jonathan Edwards of all people would say, we are created from the overflow of that mutual love between the three persons of the Trinity. And so if we're created for that, that means relationships are a good thing. They're a valuable thing. They're a necessary thing. But we all admit to that they're complicated. Mm-hmm. They're not always easy. And so we want to take some time and go, well, what do they look like when they're done through a Jesus lens? How do we build healthier relationships? If we've broken some relationships or have some barriers or baggage that get in the way, how do we move past those things? And all of this is true not just with the people, but also with ourselves, and most of all with God. And so we're going to look at it from all three of those lenses over the next 6 weeks.
That's good. I really like this idea because they are complicated. I love the theme of it. I think everybody has relationships in their lives that are complicated, whether it's with your parents or with your children or with people at work, or maybe it's a marriage that's in a really hard time, and it's a complicated time. And I think everybody probably has those relationships that are complicated. What I love about this is that I think this series is going to help us bring some clarity of why we have these relationships. What does it look like to have a healthy relationship? What is a healthy relationship? Without God, those lines get blurred and stuff. But what we see is God brings truth, and if we believe that He's the truth, He has things to say about these relationships. And I love too the image of the Trinity. And I think so many things in our lives are because we can't fully understand the Trinity, because it's not something we can ever experience, three persons in one being. Since we can't, God has given us these relationships that will mirror that, just like marriage. In some crazy way, marriage is two people that become one. When Brittany and I got married, we became one. That doesn't mean that I lost who I am or that she's less of a human or I'm less of a human. No, we're both still our individual human, our individual personalities and beings, but some amazing way we are now one. Yeah. And it's just a picture, not, we can't fully understand it, but a picture of the Trinity. And when those relationships get bad, it gets complicated. When they get complicated, it gets hard and it gets scary. And I'm excited to dive into a series where we look at the hard questions of that and what does God call us to do in these relationships.
Well, yeah, I mean, relationships are the places, some of the places at least, where we can see God the most clearly. I think God brings other people into our lives, and He uses other people, and He speaks through other people, and He encourages us through other people through His Spirit working in them. But also relationships are where we find some of our greatest hurts and our greatest pains. And I think all of us in one way or another can attest to the fact that, hey, there's been a relationship, whether it was with a parent or a sibling or a child or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, or a friend. It's like, that really hurt me. Yeah. And so there's two sides of it. It's like there's the positive side where it's the joy and the laughter and the pleasure and the fun and all of that. And then the complicated side is the disappointment, the frustration, the anger, the hurt. And a lot of times those things overlap. Yeah. And so that's what makes them so complicated, is the people that we're closest to and we love the most can also drive us absolutely insane, and they can frustrate us and hurt us. And so it's just, how do we mirror God and image God well? Because newsflash, like, we don't always keep up our end of the bargain when it comes to our relationship with God. We sin, we make mistakes, we fail. There are times where we flee or run away, we distance ourselves, and God is still safe and strong and pursues us. Well, how do we reflect that in our own relationships when things get complicated? That's something we're going to talk about too.
Yeah, it's also a great place to talk about grace and what does grace look like, and how did God have grace for us, and how can we have grace for others, and in those relationships. There are just so many things that play into this, that it's just such a great image that God has created for us. I think of with my kids and being like, there's nothing they could do that would make me stop loving them. Now there are things they could do that would, that if they chose to be separated or something, they could. But like, I love them so much. No matter what they do, I'm never going to stop loving them, and it gives me a perspective of like, oh, if that's how God loves me, man, that brings me comfort. It's not. So all of these relationships that we have, like you said, it is both. It can both be the hard parts of it and the sad and the angry and the frustrated, but also the good parts of grace and mercy and love and laughter. And I'm excited about this series, and I'm getting even more excited as we're sitting on this podcast talking about it.
See me to spill my coffee?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, I'm glad I did. So yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited I just threw coffee out of my cup.
Man,
so,
that's excited right there. So
I am excited about it though. It's really been fun to put it together. My hand's gonna be so like just gross. It's fine, whatever. It's been fun to put it together with Heather has helped a lot, and Joe Ash has helped, and Ron and I have sat over there with him some, and it's been good to put this series together and to pray over it, and to like we've really kind of asked a question like, hey, if we had 5 weeks to talk about relationships, what are the 5 things, or what are the things that need to be a part of that? And so I think it's been really beneficial. It's been helpful for me already, just planning some of it, and I think it's going to hopefully be beneficial and nurturing for you guys too. Yeah. Be
prepared to be challenged. I would say, and I would hope we would be saying that for every series. We're going in, but I think because it can be complicated for so many people, we're probably going to say things that step on your toes. Even if that's not even exactly our intention. We're not looking at individuals and going, hey, this one's here is for you. We're not doing that. It's just when you speak truth, that's going to bring up thoughts, and that's going to bring up relationships in your mind. But if you come in open and going, man, God, I want to see these relationships healed. I want to see these relationships as you intended them to be, because that's the reality. Is the brokenness and the sadness, that's not how God intended for relationships to be. He can work through that. He can show himself through all that, but that's not how he intended it to be. And there's a better way. And so I'm excited to get into all of that. This upcoming Sunday, we've talked about it. Heather Willard, she oversees our counseling center. She schedules it. She is awesome. She is a superstar.
Kind of ensures it's clinically, on target, with right standards, and helps keep us in line with our mission statement over there and all that.
Yeah. So she is the perfect person to bring in for this. Not only is she organized and awesome and loves West Towne, she is a good person, and I'm thankful to be able to call her a friend and to be able to do ministry beside her. And so I think people who are listening will be blessed by listening to you and her teach this Sunday. Could you talk a little bit about that sermon?
Yeah, so we're getting into going back to creation, really, and again, just kind of hitting that idea of like we were created to be in connection, healthy connection with God, other people, and ourselves. And when you see the first few pages of Scripture, you see what that's like when the first humans, Adam and Eve, have a healthy connection with God, each other, and themselves, and you see what happens when they don't. So we're going to talk about, the idea that when we are not creating or maintaining healthy connections and healthy relationships, we often end up living out of shame. And you see that in Adam and Eve. They sin, they make a mistake, they hide, and they flee basically from God. There's this shame that develops. And so when we live out of shame, when we live out of a false view of ourselves, when we live out of an identity understanding of ourselves that is not reflective of how God sees us or how we were made, we end up in dark places. We end up in sad places. And so we're just going to talk about, why relationships matter, what benefit they can add to our life, how to live from peace and love rather than shame, and most of all, how to connect better with God, other people, and ourselves, so that we can kind of experience and tap into the life that God created us for and desires for us.
It's going to be good. I think it's a needed series. I think it's one that I think as we come out of this, I think we're going to see people's hearts and minds and lives changed. And I'm excited to kind of see where that goes, including myself. I mean, it's same. Like I every time we get into series and whether I'm preaching or whether I'm teaching the kids or whatever it is, this stuff's challenging, and it should be. If we're taking our faith serious, if we want to live like Christ lived, we should be challenged. We should be challenged to make sure that our relationships are what Christ would want it to be, that we're treating people like He would want us to be, and that our relationships are a reflection of what God has done for us. And so I think it's going to be a great series.
Well, I'm excited about it, and we'll kick it off on Sunday as long as we're here. We'll see what the weather does this weekend, but hopefully we're going to be here. And I'm really excited about it too. This one we've worked on and prayed on for a while, and it's going to be a fun few weeks. So yeah, join us on Sunday, 10:30 right here. Or online, whichever you prefer. But I think being in person for this series is going to be really good. And I hope it generates some good conversation for you and your family, your spouse, or your kids, or whoever you find yourself in a relationship with. I hope this series gives some good conversation coming out of it. So we'll kick that off this week. We'll be right back here to talk about it next week on the Table Talk podcast. And until then, stay warm, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.